Hi everyone and welcome to the latest edition of the Atos podcast with Sam Boswell, Sam Farley and me, Jake Ashton. Now lads, I have been looking forward to this exact weekend for probably the last 2 months since the fixtures came out. It's the Manchester Derby and obviously I am absolutely buzzing for it, but we've got so much more going on this weekend. We've got loads of Premier League action, racing picks from the Arc, and an NFL London tip too, because I'm guessing Farley's going to be going to that game. Absolutely loves a trip anywhere.
I've got a ticket as well, but I think I'm going to possibly have to give it a miss and sell it or pass it on to somebody that wants to go. I can't do all three, annoyingly. So, but yeah, it's still exciting and it's televised as well. So we'll touch on that later on.
Buzzing on that, absolutely buzzing. What we'll do is, though, we will start with a massive game in the Premier League this weekend, and it's the lunchtime kickoff, so it actually kicks off the Premier League weekend, and that is the North London Derby. Arsenal v Spurs. It's a massive game in terms of, dare I say it, the title race early on. Now, I'm going to start off going to Sam Farley because, judging by your pick for this one, you seem fairly confident of a dominant performance from one of the two sides.
Yeah, I just think Arsenal, I know they came unstuck against Man United, but they just impressed me so much this year. Very quick out the gate in nearly every single game. They score early. And I just think, 6 wins out of 7, 1 loss, which was to Man United. And even then, I think some would argue they were slightly unlucky. And to be honest, they probably deserved a draw out of it, I'd say. I just think they're a very good team. They're a very good team who are in good form, good health. I know Emil Smith-Rowe has been ruled out, but he's not really starting for them anyway, so it's maybe not the biggest loss it has been previously. Back 4 all look good. I think Aaron Ramsdale in the international break didn't even play, but somehow enhanced his reputation. So for me, they're the form team here. Spurs, as good as they've been, and look, they could well pull off a shock here. I'm not ruling that out for a second, but I just think the smart money has to be on Arsenal here, and backing Arsenal at half-time and full-time is 12-5, and that's landed in 6 of their last 8 games in the Premier League, which I think is just a great stat. So I'll follow this stat and stick with that. Okay,
I like it a lot. Now, Boz, I want you to give me some sort of fight around Tottenham. Give me reasoning why Tottenham can get a result here. I've seen your pick for this one, and it does involve a Tottenham player. Now,
I must say, I can't sit here and say I think it's nailed on. Spurs are going to turn up and put in a real performance. Sounds like we're not going to be we're going to be seeing Richarlison from the start, probably with Kuleski being injured. Son obviously has come back to form by the looks of it, by that stunning last appearance for Spurs. When you think back to how much pressure was sort of being put on him, thought that was very much a form is temporary, class is permanent example of why players like him will thrive. Harry Kane, obviously, I think he put in a captain's effort against Germany. You know, he loves these games. He really does get up for them, and his performance in them is always pretty good. You know, you can probably set your clock by him that he's involved in a goal or will score a goal. He's around even money for a goal or assist, which, you know, touch wood, he doesn't get injured, which is what we'll all be praying for with 6 weeks of the World Cup. Realistically, surely you get the 90 minutes. I think he's going to be involved in anything Spurs do. He gets plenty of flick-ons. He's not afraid to go deep and play a ball through for Son to latch onto. So even money, Kane score assist. But just on the actual outcome of the game, no result here would surprise you, would it? Let's be honest. You can quite conceivably see anything. The one thing I will do in this game is in-play card bets. I think the market, I had a look at this particular game. I don't know whether this is a general consensus, but I feel a bit like derby games, the big bookies tend to seemingly take half a point off anyone that was value. But I might have a dabble in play on if Ben White's stuck out wide, potentially. Højbjerg's a walking yellow card, isn't he? You know, you've got him and Xhaka. I mean, it's probably printing money to put them in some sort of card multi, but they're just too short for me. So, yeah, that was my bet, Jake. I think Harry Kane will turn up and be involved. And I'd be surprised if Spurs don't at least give a good showing of themselves. I'm not saying they'll win, but I think they will be matching Arsenal in this game.
I think you've got to be a bit nervy about cards, you know, because so often you get these big games the games like this where you think it's a nailed-on cards fest, quite often it seems to be the refs are almost under like an obligation to try and not dish
let
out
things
cards.
go longer.
Yeah, and you don't really get a card till like 60 minutes. So I don't know. I would stay away from cards personally.
Yeah, I think for me, it's an in-play thing. I want to see if the ref has to book Xhaka because he's gone through the back of someone twice in the first 10 minutes, the precedent's set then. If you get to half-time and no one looks like getting a card, you can sit it out, can't you? But the prices do adjust to that. I just think at the moment, definitely, this isn't a game I want to pre-card betting.
Yeah, we always do say just watch the game, see how they go in, see who has made fouls, see what the market's looking like in terms of bookings for that player. But I have looked at bookings too, Boz, and it's not something that I'm going to tip, but it's interesting to see that Gabriel Jesus, he's actually the most carded player for Arsenal so far this season with 4. He's going to be coming up against Christian Romero, obviously Argentina-Brazil battle. Maybe something that you look into in terms of a bet builder or something similar around that. I've actually gone for a bet builder for this game, and it involves Gabriel Jesus and Harry Kane both to score and Arsenal to win. Now, that's 16-1. Gabriel Jesus has had the international break off. He didn't get called up for Brazil, whether or not that was due to the Brazil manager not quite liking him, or there were reports that Arsenal asked for him to be left out just to get a bit of a rest. Harry Kane obviously scored for England on Monday, and Harry Kane loves a goal against Arsenal too. But I do just think Arsenal will just nick this one. It may be a tight game, 2-1 maybe, but I just think Jesus Kane to score, Arsenal to win at 16-1 is a great price. And it should be a great derby game. We will go straight into another derby on Sunday. Obviously, I am absolutely buzzing for it. Manchester derby, City v United. Now, we'll start with you, Boz, because your talk is similar to mine in terms of the price for United, the price maybe for Marcus Rashford, who has just one player a month, if he does start for United or play for them. What do you feel is going to happen in this one?
Okay, so we all work in the betting industry, and sometimes people will take the mick out of you when you have a value loser. But I genuinely think the price at United at some points now is reaching possibly too big. You're seeing a bit of 13-2, 7-1. I don't think they're that big a price, personally. Now, for me, United's best chance of getting a result here does hinge on Marcus Rashford. I'm quite keen on him from a betting perspective. His score or assist is 5-2, which looks a huge price, but my enthusiasm for that bet is very much tempered by the injury. If he starts, I'll probably play it. I have a slight fear United might leave him on the bench. I hate it when teams do that. I almost rather give some of the whole week off. The whole can play 30 minutes, but not 60. It just seems odd to me with the extra subs these days. But my point stands. I don't think Man City are likely to slip up here. But then I looked at the prices and just thought, well, I wouldn't want to be backing City at 1-3. And United are 13-2. You've got all the different markets, double chance. If you were feeling a bit coy, potentially the handicap. I think it'd be a draw at half-time, so maybe draw half-time, full-time United. Let's be honest. I know Man United, the pressure's usually on them, right? But they come into this game, I actually don't for once think there's that much pressure on United because hands up, who expects them to beat City? Clearly nobody.
No, I don't. Farley, I don't think you do either. I know Boz mentioned the halftime draw. That's something that you're actually tipping in this game. What's the reasoning behind that?
Look, this is for my money, like the best tip in this by a country mile. You're getting 19-10 on a draw at half time, and you got to basically think about how this game's going to go. United are on the road at their biggest rivals. They have to go and basically. They will obviously try and score, hit City on the counter, but they're going to go and try and keep things tight at the back, resolute, hold on for as long as possible and just try and nick a goal. That's how you play Man City effectively. And let's be honest, Man United's defence in the last few weeks has been really, really good. And I think just the odds on them to get a draw at half-time are just so big because there's the way they're going to have to play this game. I mean, even if they nick one, is there a good chance that City then get one back before the halftime. So you could even get a score draw at halftime. I just think with all the attacking talent City have, the only way Man United can really set up is to try and counter, and that just plays into the hands of back in the draw at halftime. And, you know, Boz, you mentioned doing a draw at halftime, you know, United full-time. That's 18-1. And even draw at halftime, Man City at full-time is 62-17. Ridiculous odds, but that's over 3-1.
So you're getting that out.
Yeah, you're getting like really good value. Like I'd happily, and I think I probably will do halftime draw and then maybe do full-time draw and then a draw for like halftime draw, then either team wins as well. Like I think there's various ways you could kind of make.
You're going to end up backing 0-0, 1-1, 2-2 Farley at this rate as well, I suspect.
Yeah, probably
0-0 at half. Well, and you know, unders at before half, under a 0.5 of a goal before half time could be tasty as well. But yeah, it's interesting, Jake. Obviously, your perspective, you're a City fan. Do you go into this derby with trepidation?
In recent times, it's been a lot easier to go into the derby games with a sense that we're going to win. I mean, it's crazy going into that. When obviously growing up, all I heard was United fans slagging us off every week. Fergie saying that we'll never be.
It must be awful supporting a team that, you know, has
I get bored of watching us in the Champions League.
Yeah. We've only spent 200 million this season. God, cry me a river, Jake.
I think it was 2 weeks ago.
Haaland's good. I wish I had Sean Gota.
2 weeks ago, we got asked a question by one of our listeners around how you take a loss and how you cope with that. I've obviously said during that I'm not scared to bet against my team. I will bet against my team in the Manchester derby too. 13-2 is a massive price. A fiver on it, I'm fine with doing that. It's one of them things where I just buzz then. I get the money back if we lose and I can spend it all on drowning my sorrows. There isn't any value on us though, is there? I've tried to look and see if there is any value on City at all. Haaland's like 1-2 to score.
I think we won't get value on City again until you have a bad run of about 3 games. I think you're going to need to lose 3 on the bounce to get a price. Haaland at the moment just seems so clinical, so machine-like. No one's going to offer a decent price. The only thing you're going to get is the occasional 10 quid specials that they put up, don't they, for a shot on target or something like this. So, like, from my perspective, I think you just have to enjoy City for what they are. And Haaland especially, he really is a joy to watch, Jake. And I'm going to make sure I try and get to a City game this season because I want to see him in the flesh. His movement is what would excite me as a football fan. You know, things you can't really pick up too much on the telly because they don't have player cam anymore, but just how he picks into space. And I don't know, he just seems on a different level. And I mean, we get this in sport, don't we? And maybe I'm overhyping it. Your Michael Jordans, you know, in their prime, Ronaldo, Messi, that just look like they know how they play the game. And everyone else sort of can't keep up with them. It's phenomenal. And we're very blessed to have him in the Premier League. And God, City are going to have some job to hang on to him, I think, every summer.
Well, it seems like that type of player actually go into games too. You actually get like people selling Haaland scarves outside the ground. People will be going to City just to see that player. And again, you're right, Sam. It's great seeing someone like that in the Premier League. Admittedly, it'll be probably a bit bad for fans of other teams when we're playing against them, but it's one of them.
He is your first like megastar, isn't he? Really,
as good as De
Bruyne and Aguero have been.
I think it'll be the first signing in a long while, which is like
Galactic.
I think we've got a super, like Robinho-esque, isn't it? Like back in the day. Away from the 2 derbies this weekend, then in the Premier League, I'm just trying to see the best Prem bets that we've got across the weekend. Now, looking at your 2 selections, you've both gone for card picks this weekend, which I absolutely love. So, Farley, you go and give us your card bet first.
I think this is a guy. I think I've tipped him on here this season already for a card. I've definitely tipped him in some articles I've written for cards. But Polina for Fulham. The guy, 7 games in, 5 yellow cards. That's all you need to know is the basis for this. But I kind of just want to say, like, just a wider point about this guy. A lot of people, when he came to the Premier League, weren't expecting much. But he has been absolutely incredible. Like I think he is. I mean, Haaland's going to win your signing of the season, like unquestionably. But take him out the running. I think Paulinho at Fulham has been absolutely next level. He kind of breaks up the play so well. He's got, I think, 2 goals this season. I think it's either 2 or 3. The guy that adds to attacks. He's tall, so he's good at defending set plays, a threat of set plays, crossing, brilliant. I honestly don't know how a bigger club, with all due respect to Fulham, didn't find him sooner. And I saw in the week, I saw my first kind of article on, I think it was Who Scored, wrote a really good article about him, but I think the buzz around him is starting to build now. And I don't know how. This is the thing with pricing, like with bookies. I don't understand how any bookie can be giving him a card at 3-1 when he's got 5 in 7. And if you watch the guy play, he isn't afraid to like put in a hard tackle. If someone's running away, they're going to get through on goal. He doesn't care. He will sieve them down. Like everything about this, trends, the eye test, it all tells you he's a card machine. So I don't know why there are prices like 3-1 available now, especially when you think Newcastle. I almost think these games where they're playing someone good, but somebody they can beat, raise into. This is the sort of game you see cards.
It's competitive, isn't it? And this is exactly where my card selection kind of would match up with that logic, Farley. So Aaron Hinckley for Brentford, he's picked up, I think, 3 so far. So he's not quite as card mad as your fella. But they're playing Bournemouth, Brentford. Now, that to me is a game where Bournemouth, I'm not going to say they've turned a corner or anything, but they are finding, obviously, that they've got if they're going to stay up or at least have a chance this season, games like Brentford are where they're going to have to be competitive, and it should be a close, tight game. And you've got a fullback who's going to pick up a card. He's 100-30, and I mean, he's not quite as overpriced as your lad, but I still think that's a very fair price for a player that will play in a position that tends to probably get the full game against opposition that are going to be, it's going to be a closer game. If it was Man City, people love those mismatches, don't they? They always think, oh, small team going to play a big team. But like realistically, once the game's gone, I mean, I know Wolves, we did see that ridiculous red that City, obviously, when they were playing them in the penultimate, most recent round of games. But I need to do the homework, and I genuinely will try and do it for next week. As I understand it, I think I see more cards in the close competitive games than you do in the smashes.
Guys, I just realised something here. I think I'm going to have some serious egg on my face as I say this. I'm just thinking about my guy. I saw him get a yellow card in the last game he played, which would have been his 5th yellow card.
Tell me he's suspended for this game. Please tell me.
So he must be suspended. But
at least you caught it before the video has gone out, Farley, and you can make your apology bet in here.
There are. I'm using a well-known odds aggregator to find these odds, and he is. Well, they're telling me there's a bookmaker where this is available. I'm going to do a bit more digging, but he shouldn't be playing this game. So ignore everything I've said, but use that knowledge next game.
I mean, it's interesting that there's 3-1 out there, isn't it? Oh well, we're down to my bet then, but luckily for us, Jake's probably got because it's not a card bet. Jake, yours can't be suspended possibly. No, so we'll
I felt like a bit of a mug not picking a card bet, to be honest. So
you don't now.
No, I don't now. I've gone for Fulham to beat Newcastle. I think 2-1 is a big price now. Admittedly, I'm going off the eye test. I'm going off watching previous games of the two sides so far this season, and Fulham have impressed me. I completely wrote Fulham off at the start of the season myself too. I thought it's just going to be more of the same with Fulham. Mitrovic is going to struggle. It's going to be just another poor season for him. But they've looked really impressive. And I think Newcastle, on the other hand, haven't impressed me anywhere near as I thought they would impress me. But I just think 2-1, great price. Mitrovic may be up for this even more against his former club. It's going to be a good game, I think, in that one. The 3:00 kickoffs on Saturday do have a lot of good games, actually, too.
You'll have to try and find a way of interpreting the radio or maybe
Yes.
stumbling across a territory that's showing it. Who knows? Maybe you'd be lucky enough to be abroad and be able to watch the game at 3:00. But yeah, you are right.
Farley, is there anything else that you like the look of for Saturday before we go ahead? Or
look, I've been absolutely rattled here. I've even double checked. I've double checked the most profitable bookmaker in the world, and they are offering odds on this. But a quick Google has told me he is definitely suspended. So don't put it on because it will just be voided and you'll get your money.
We'll lose the price for next week as well when he's back from suspension. So play the long game, right?
Whammy.
Oh well, looks like we're down to a double then. Right, with that absolute facade and charade of a card effort from Sam Farley, it's one way to keep his profit loss ticking over. Put a void up. We will go to the banker, bust, and draw section that we always enjoy. I've got completely left field ideas, so I'll leave me till last here because I think I'm going to get laughed at. Maybe not as much as we just laughed at Sam, but I'm going to get laughed at. Jake, kick us off then and walk us through your banker, your bust, and your draw.
So banker this weekend for me is Liverpool at home to Brighton. More down to the fact that Brighton, new manager, are they going to get a new manager bounce? I'm not so sure. I think it might take time to adjust from Graham Potter. And Liverpool, I think that they need to just kick on now and have a run before the World Cup. And Klopp will tell the players that, get it into their heads. My banker, I think they're around 1-3, so not as short as I thought they'd be actually, but yeah, they're my banker.
I'd say last season when they were, in their stride, they'd have been probably a couple of clicks short there. Mo Salah, I believe, obviously got an early back from Egypt as well, from his international duty, which is always a blessing. If you can avoid your player being too worn out over competitive games, that's always good. Who's getting busted then, Jake?
Bust is a tough one for me this weekend, but I've gone for West Ham to bust against Wolves in the late kickoff on Saturday. Now, admittedly, Wolves haven't looked anywhere near as good as they should look with the squad that they have, but I think that the international break has come at a perfect time for them to get the players rounded up and just kick on with it. Another thing I will say, though, which is going to completely contradict what I'm saying, I think Wolves may get a result here, but at the same time, I think Bruno Lage at 10-1 in some places to be the next Premier League manager to be sacked is a big price. I think that if they do drop points here, they drop points the next week, we're going to start to see some managers get sacked, and again, 10-1. Brendan Rodgers has seemed like a dead man walking for the last month. I think money is the issue with Brendan Rodgers getting dismissed. I don't think they can afford to sack him, to be honest. But
I think he's going to turn it round, Jake, and I'll touch on that later on. And then you draw.
My draw, I've gone for Palace Chelsea.
Good man.
Yeah, so I think that Palace will get a result here. I'm pretty sure Palace haven't played for like a month now.
I was going to say, as a Palace fan, I can't really recall us doing anything of note other than posting clips of epic goals on our Twitter feed. In some ways, I do think, though, Jake, and this is what scares me a bit, Vieira might have some very nice set plays worked out, but obviously we don't really know. We haven't got a consistent Chelsea side because Potter's only had, the one Champions League tie. So it's going to be quite hard to know who starts. Cucurella, Chilwell, how's he going to fit them both in? So, yeah, I don't know. I'll be honest. But what I would say is I'll be really disappointed if we're sloppy. If we're sloppy and make silly errors, I'm hoping the fact they've had time to prepare should put them bang on it. And I definitely won't be a Chelsea backer. I want to watch them and see how they get on. That's not just because I'm a Palace fan. So, no, I quite like that shout as well.
Yeah, so I think there's three shouts there that have all got decent chances, to be honest.
Right, come on then, Sam. Let's have your three.
Look, simple. I'm going to keep this to the point. Banker, Man City. I don't really think much more needs to be said. We know how good they are. Bust, it is Chelsea for me. They're, odds on against a Palace team who, we've seen this season they're a good team. Anything can happen at Selhurst Park. They got probably. I hate to say this, Sam, because I think it's going to cheer you up. They probably do have the best fans in the league. And for my draw, Southampton versus Everton. This is one of those games that just screams
That stinks of draw.
Boring draw. So that's it. Simple for me.
Okay, right. I'm ready to rock your worlds. I'm going to go in reverse order here because I want to save the surprise till last. So we're having our meal backwards. We'll start with dessert. The draw is going to be Fulham v Newcastle. Both teams at a similar sort of level for me, actually. I think Newcastle, with their injury issues, I think could be a bit goal shy in the next couple of weeks if Ishak doesn't come back to start. Been really impressed by him as well, and I think he'll be a good signing for them in time, but really frustrating to not be able to quite hit the ground running with a stop-start arrival to his career at Newcastle. My to get beat bet is I'm going to sort of stick my neck on the line and go with City at the prices. If I'm going to think about backing United, I've got to put City to lose. Jake was already fearing the worst, but like I can't say at the prices, oh, I'm going to take them on and then not put them as my bankers to get beat.
Yeah.
I mean, also Brighton aren't going to beat Liverpool, are they? So I can't really go with trying to get Liverpool beat. Chelsea have already been talked about in dispatches and taken. So I thought, you know what, we'll go different. And on the theme of difference, my banker for this week is probably anything other than a banker in sort of like, these games, right? The form book that seems to exist in the Premier League goes out the window. I mean, Leicester are still around 3-4 to win this game on Monday night against Forest. But I really don't see why Leicester, with the first 11 they can put out, versus a Forest side that are utterly lost, cannot get the win. Now, a couple of things I think that will help. So Leicester recently brought in a set-piece coach. I believe Leicester's goals conceded from set plays was the worst in the league. So they've clearly got a massive problem with that, right? And they've realised they need to address it. Now, he was on the bench for the game before we had the breaks. He's had a chance to learn and work with the players now. I think they have genuinely got probably the worst goalkeeper I've seen in the Premier League in a long time, since probably Taibbi at United. Do you remember him? He's not confident. And I genuinely think Leicester's strategy should be just to stop the ball coming in the air anywhere near him. I would say this Forest side, to me, you can pick holes in them. Who on earth's going to start? They're not going to get any chemistry. What I would say is I think Forest will end the season so strongly with the depth they'll have compared to teams around them. But I think the damage has been done for Forest this season. They're going to lose. Cooper's going to get sacked. And I actually think this will save Brendan Rodgers' job. They don't want to sack him because it's going to cost him a fortune. He's not going to walk away because it's going to cost him a fortune. The representative of the owners is flying over for his first game in 6 weeks, as I understand. So, this is either going to be it's shit or bust, isn't it, for Brendan Rodgers? He either wins this game, comes out afterwards and gives it a bit of the, that's why I'm the boss and I can turn the ship around, or he's going to get the boot. So I'm backing him to turn it around. I think he's got enough talent there, and I think the players are still. It's not like the dressing room's turned on him. I don't feel like that at Leicester. No,
I don't either, to be honest.
So
players will still play for him. Definitely.
Maybe they just need to pull their heads together. But there we go. It's one of those. EFL's going to be a quick section this week, lads, because both me and Sam are going. But Bradford sort of scarred me last week, and I thought I just need a break from the EFL this week. But we have put up some winners before. It won't be an acca this week because it's just Jake. But what are you going for, Jake?
Bradford scarred me too, Boz. They let me down for £1,500 last week.
Sorry, Jake.
Fourfold. Both teams to score and win bet. Bradford drew 2-2. I was like, no. My pick this week, I don't know if I've done it just to piss off Farley, to be honest, but I've gone for Plymouth to win at 8-5 away to Wickham. And I just think top of the league, massive price, 8-5 against the Wickham side, who this season just look to be struggling every week. It just seems like a completely different team to what Ainsworth usually has. And 8-5 is a big price. Now, admittedly, Plymouth haven't beat Wickham in the last 3 times that they've played each other. But top of the league against 17th, a Plymouth side who play well when they have confidence behind them. It's just a massive price. Before we move on to foreign footy, Buzz, quickly, just to look into our document where we put in a few of our picks, you've put hate the EFL. Now, anything you can elaborate on the hatred of the EFL? Because Farley loves the EFL.
Do you know what it is, Jake? When
the
the international footy rolls around and I keep an eye on it because I want to have a bit of a flutter or whatever on the weekend. I actually kept my powder dry for the most part. I'd won, I think, acca with Bradford in it, and I played a bit of the NFL on the Sunday night. But I just find it such a... I just literally, I think I could do this. And I'd pick a better bet than bothering to look at the form table. And it's probably a good... What I would say is it's quite rare that I'll tip outside the championship because I don't have exposure to these teams. I'm not like Sam, who effectively is following his team in the league and he's seeing everyone at least twice a season. He's seeing the players. I do think it's probably a really good example of don't bother betting on stuff you've got no clue on with your own opinion. If you want to have a bet on the EFL, find someone, read an article, listen to even the likes of ourselves that do, I'd be more likely to take Sam's bet than my bet because he knows what he's talking about. And I do think it was just an interesting little life lesson to reaffirm that the EFL and me are not going to go hand in hand till Palace get relegated and I have to start watching it again.
Yeah, that makes sense. Farley, do you want to jump on a plane for us and take us around Europe? Or
do the generic travel link. Come on.
Come on.
I've just gone through passport control, long queues. Shouldn't really have left.
Brexit means
That's
Brexit.
Another story altogether. I've just bought some stuff in duty free. Actually, a bottle of vodka, and I then drink it on the plane like a bad boy.
Brilliant.
Got off on the other side, over in Italy. Actually, again, took a long time to get through. But I did ultimately get some pasta. Read the Gazzetta dello Sport, like the East.
All right, come on, get to your point.
All right, my bet here. Roma are on the road against Inter Milan this week, and Jose Mourinho's Roma team are 14-5. And look, they're down in 6th in Serie A, but they are a good side. They're 4 points off Napoli, who are top. But all the thing I think we need to talk about here is goals. Roma has scored 8 goals. That's all they've scored in 7 games. Compared with the likes of the highest scoring team in the leagues, which is Napoli and Udinese, weirdly, who've both scored 15. However, when you look at XG, no team in the league has a higher XG than Roma. Their XG should be 17.51. That's above everybody. They are just not converting goals that realistically they should do. These things do have a habit. We saw it with Brighton this year. They do eventually turn around. And whether they turn around this season or next, who knows? But I think 14-5 on the road against an Inter team who they're down in 7th. They've not looked anything like we expected, really. I just think it's a really good price, nearly 3-1, basically. Yeah, I like it. I like that a lot.
Yeah, it does look like a good price, definitely. Quick one, Farley. What were your thoughts on the San Siro last week?
I'll be honest with you. It's a stadium I've wanted to visit my entire life. An iconic stadium. Some of the best players that have ever played have played there. It's a total dump. I would not recommend anyone goes there. And there's been all these talks for years about them demolishing it. And I've always thought, how could you do that to a stadium like that? I totally understand it. Give me the keys to a bulldozer. I'd be the first one through there. Smash it up. It's rubbish.
Fair enough. On that note, my pick for the games this weekend. Before I go ahead with that, has Sam Boswell just froze in place for you, or is it just for me? Just seems like he's just sat there. So all right, okay. He's so furious on my side that you've.
Oh, you're right. Maybe he is still actually.
Yeah, I think he might be. I think he's so angry that he slagged off the San Siro that he's just frozen in place. He's had enough. My pick for the foreign footy this week is Barcelona to win at both teams to score against Mallorca at 15-8 now. Barcelona come into this game, great form. They just look like a much better team under Xavi now. It looks impressive to me. And Farley's struggling. If you're watching this on video on our YouTube channel, Farley's absolutely struggling to get some sort of good imagery.
Bear with us right now. Carry on talking while we wait for him to turn up again.
There we go. That's a bit better. So, yeah, Real Madrid beat Mallorca 4-1, I think it was the other week. Mallorca definitely scored at the Bernabeu, and I think that there's a great chance of them scoring against Barcelona. And again, trying to get a bit of value in foreign football is tough, but at 15-8, that is the value for me. I was going to ask you to do an impression of Sam Boz for me, to be honest, to tell us his pick for foreign football, but I'm not sure.
I think it's probably quite offensive, but I'm going to do it anyway. But ultimately, he might hear this, he might not. Oh, he's back. Look at that. That is perfect timing. We just reached your segment.
Perfect.
Take it away.
I've got a nasty feeling we may have lost the recording up to the San Siro part where you were just saying what a wonderful stadium it was, Sam. So I might just get you very quickly.
Recording for me, I think. Is it not?
We're ticking over, so we'll keep going. Where were we? Foreign footy, weren't we? Right. So your plane's been to Italy, your plane's been to Spain, and now we're going to Germany Friday night, guys. Bayern Munich have had a pretty shocking start to the season by their ridiculous standards. You know, they start the season at stupid prices to win the league, and then lo and behold, what happens? They seemingly have hit quite a stumbling block. Unfortunately, they're not playing a very good side this weekend because I wanted to back outright them to get beat, which I can't do. But Leverkusen themselves are starting to turn the corner. +2 for them, 20-21. I can see Bayern probably getting the win, but I think a 2-goal head start for Leverkusen. If they get to half-time drawing, I think that's an excellent price personally. So they'll be chucked in to try and get the weekend started with a winner on the foreign footy betting for me.
I like it. Well, look, let's stay abroad. We don't want to come back to this Brexit island just yet. Let's go to France because Boz, it is, for my money, one of the best races in the entirety of racing this weekend. The Arc de Triomphe.
Yeah, epic race, really good race. So, long story short, for those who don't know, the Arc is a race where the different generations take each other on towards the end of the flat season. So you've got horses that are like 3 years old and have won a derby potentially that are turning up, or like Westover, who was second in the derby, will be going there. They get quite a good weight concession from the older horses that are a bit more seasoned. They've been there, done that, got the T-shirt. So ages ago, I put Baid up at 33-1. At one point, it was 5-4, and then Connections chose to not run him here. I thought they were going to look really silly in doing that. However, the ground is going to be absolutely horrendous at Longchamp, I think, because in their infinite wisdom of watering, the French put like loads of water on the track, even though rain was coming. As a result, the going is currently soft and likely to only get softer, which favours quite a few horses in here. So you've got the likes of Luxembourg, who's probably around the 4-1 favourite for Aidan O'Brien and Ryan Moore.
Can I say one thing about Luxembourg quickly?
Go on.
You didn't tip him up directly, but when you did tip up Baid, you did mention that Luxembourg was one to look at, because I got on him as well at that time at 18-1. So
yeah, he's 4-1 now, so you've done really well, and you've got a great chance. The only reason I'd shy away from him, and I need to probably have a bit more thought than just younger horses in the softer ground. Listen, he's won twice on soft. He won at Leopardstown last time out, the Irish Champions race, which we tipped. Well, I gave him a favourable mention. I'm not going to say tipped up, so I won't put it on the record. But he's a really good horse, and I think he's probably the right favourite because he gets weight from the others. But there's two in here I'd quite like to Dutch together, I think. And one of which is Alphanista for Sir Mark Prescott, who, just have a Google. His stories are brilliant. You'll find them on Twitter. He's an absolute gent, and he's been training for a very long time, knows what it takes. And this horse has just been brilliant. Won the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 starts in a row. Ground won't be a concern, I don't think. Seems to win on anything, including soft and even firm. I mean, it's just one of those brilliantly versatile horses. And it was Haydock soft as well, which if anyone's ever been up to Haydock, soft ground there is like swimming. So she's going to be one of my picks, and she gets a little bit of concession because she's a she's a mare or a filly. And then last year's winner, guys, was on the PMU, returned at 79-1. About 80-1 you could have got in the UK. I think there was a bit of 100-1 in the morning.
There was.
Yes, there was.
And
the boys had him last week.
I believe there's some after-timers on this show that have suddenly turned up and remember they backed him. Well, you'll remember that it was a very wet, horrible, heavy ground Arc that day. And lo and behold, we've got the same conditions this year. Frankie Dettori booked a ride, which is a massive plus point as ever. He's not many better than him, even though he's getting a little bit long in the tooth now. He went out and finished second on him in his prep race in Germany. He's won this season, and we know he'll handle the ground. The softer, the better. So I just think Luxembourg's a younger horse. At 4-1, I can leave him, but I'm just going to probably pair Alphanista and Torquato Tasso. If you're getting some extra places on the day, 5 places somewhere, I think they'll both be well in the frame. I quite like them. It's bad news for the Japanese horses in here. I think it'll be another year that they don't win it. Broome, I don't think will appreciate the conditions. So yeah, it's an okay renewal of the Arc. I don't think it's the strongest we've ever seen, but I think those two to get the favourite beat, I'd quite happily have those pair running for me, and we'll make a bit of profit rather than ending up, hugely in front. I'll probably have the reverse forecast as well. Why not? Let's go for it.
Nice.
Good weekend's racing though, and the jumps is coming. It's very much nearly back. Gowran Park's got a good card in Ireland. If you're wanting to get your notebooks out for Cheltenham this weekend, I might have a few bits of mention after that weekend.
Looking forward to that. Well, I'm going to take you to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Sunday for the NFL. This is the reason I actually was planning to go back to the Arc this year, but I will be at Spurs watching the NFL London game. Vikings at the Saints, with the Saints sort of, they are the home team in theory, but that doesn't really mean anything when you're in a different country. Look, there aren't a huge amount of betting markets on this yet. You know what the NFL's like. You often get them they start to trickle through a bit more late on a Thursday night, sometimes a Friday morning even, and sometimes even Saturday. But the one bet I like here is you're getting 10-13 on the Vikings to win. I think they're the best team out of these two. I like that. And there are no odds on Justin Jefferson to score a touchdown yet, and they won't be particularly big. But I think this is the sort of game I think he'll do particularly well, and I would look to kind of get on that when they do come live, as long as they're above evens, which they almost certainly will be.
Sam, just really quickly on the NFL, I'll be going to a couple of the games, probably not this one, but obviously the arrival into London, how much of an impact has it had traditionally on the results? I seem to recall the game I went to last time around was Miami Dolphins, who were the favourites, got beat by the Jaguars, who've been pretty useless up to that point. Would you say does it help the underdogs out a little bit, like neutral ground?
I think so. I do think so. And it is, I think the Jaguars probably have a slight advantage to this, because every year they are here, which means a higher percentage of their roster is kind of used to this travel, used to this city, and kind of being part of that. The one other thing I'd say is teams, annoyingly, I don't actually have the information for this year at hand, but teams come in to the UK on different days. And I think in the past, we've seen some teams have turned up on like a Wednesday or Thursday for the Sunday game and acclimatized a bit better, whereas we've had other teams have turned up on like a Friday night, maybe potentially even a Saturday morning, and it's just not worked. I think the Raiders were one who turned up really late on a Friday, if I remember, and I did a media thing at their hotel, and they obviously turned up sort of late on this Friday, and they were an absolute mess. So you could almost tell from that. So I would certainly, if you could find any rumors on the grapevine, and there definitely will be, this information is out there on who's coming in, I would definitely kind of have a look at that, because that could be something that sways the outcome of the game for sure. Cheers, Sam.
I like it a lot. Now, there's nothing for me this week in terms of specials, because to be honest, I don't want to push anything random that I don't know much about.
Hold on, Jake. We've had the first week of Strictly. We can get your thoughts on that, surely.
The first week of Strictly, our guy who I tipped last week forgot his steps. So from the 22 to 1 that I had him at, he is now 40 to 1.
Do we go again?
No, but the person who we do go on now is Molly Rainford. I've just had a fiver on her.
Who's that?
She was 5 to 1 at the start of the show. Last week's show, she looked really good. She got like 30, I think. She's now 20 to 1, and I can't understand why she's 20 to 1, because she was, again, really good last week. Will Mellor's come straight into favourite. He's 13 to 8. He looked very good. Hamza Yassin, he looked very good too, and he's 9 to 1 from 33 to 1 last week. He's the biggest market mover. But the rebet that I've had on Strictly is for Molly Rainford at 20 to 1. James Bye, our guy, again, forgot his steps, but coped with it well. He carried on dancing and he got a decent mark.
I'm right in saying Will Mellor was the big market mover, wasn't he, Jake? And look like I guess as well, you kind of always have to go back to the who's voting on it. Are Will Mellor fans old enough to know? Did 2 pints of lager, packet of crisps viewers? I suppose they're of that age now. They're probably fairly middle class, sat at home on a Saturday night having a takeaway. Maybe they are the type that will pick up the phone. I don't know.
And
Curious.
Again, the other thing in recent years, the last 2 years especially, you get 5 free votes on the website now too. So if you go on the website after it, you can vote on there. So that, again, is something worth looking into. A Will Mellor vote is going to be the type of people who go and do that.
So, this is where the At Odds Pod campaign starts. Then we tell everyone to go and back Molly, and then everyone use their 5 free votes. We'll mobilise behind your cause, Jake. Okay, cool. Sounds good. Well, one thing just mentioned as well, we will have it much nearer the time, but I noticed the prices for Eurovision are already out. They've obviously yet to decide if it's Glasgow or Liverpool that'll be hosting it. Obviously in lieu of Ukraine not being able to host it. And I did rather cynically think, I wonder what price Ukraine are. They were obviously a bit of a gamble before last year's, and it clearly paid off for anyone that got on at the early prices with everything that was going on, because there's still going to be a huge amount of momentum that would be delighted for them to win it for a second year. To then obviously host it potentially back-to-back years in theory. They're 9-4. The bookmakers have not missed this trip. So it'll be interesting to see when we start hearing who's been selected. Tends to come in the new year, I believe. But that'll be an event we'll have very much on the radar because it should be good fun. And we'll try and find you the winner. Right.
We'll definitely talk about Christmas number 1 too. I know we've discussed that a little bit in the last week on
I'm starting the campaign now, Jake. Anyone but Lad Baby. They've had their fun. I know they raise money for charity, but a lot of other people raise money for charity as well when they do it. It'd be nice to have someone that doesn't sing about sausage rolls getting.
And it sounds like he's been raising something for somebody else that's not his wife. So I think his
allegedly, and Sam's views do not represent that of the At Odds Pod. We shall move on then and get our Twitter question. Thank you for sending these in. This is Stephen Scott who's got in touch with us. We do like to hear from you. Do give us a like and subscribe. I know it's a really easy thing to do, but it does actually mean that we can crack on, and it's quite nice to see that people are listening and having a few winners with us. Stephen wants to know early thoughts on World Cup winners. I really fancy Argentina outright at 13-2. I can understand the logic there. I would not be touching the World Cup markets probably till the week before now, where you'll get someone that will probably, with the 3rd place playoff, lads, I think someone will offer you 3 places on the World Cup this year.
Ooh.
I
don't
know about
that. There's a chance someone's going to do it.
I agree with you though. I think now's the time to hold your fire. There's going to be injuries between now and then. I mean, that Argentina price 13-2. If Messi gets injured in the next couple of weeks, you're going to say goodbye to that price. That's for sure. But Argentina, I think, were a team that were about like 2-3 weeks ago. They were 14-1, I think.
They're a bigger price for sure.
Really come in. I think at that price that they are now, I'd say that's probably, I'd say personally, what they should be. Brazil favourites, they look very, very good. I think Richarlison as a potential golden boot is maybe the way in there. France, all this stuff with, Pogba and all. I don't want any part of France, really.
It's a bit of a classic French meltdown before they've even got there. They either turn up and win these things, or they can't seem to get out of the group, or they fall out. It's very unhelpful, isn't it? I think.
I'd hope that England's struggles might see them drop quite a bit in terms of odds, but it's still not huge. Like, you're getting 17-2 is the best price you're getting, so a little under 9-1. And I kind of thought we might go into double digits potentially.
I think there's too much patriotic money for bookmakers based in the UK to deal with. What I would say though, Sam, is on your golden boot shout, which you've kind of given me a bit of an idea. And listen, I hate sounding like an ambulance chaser. It's not particularly nice, but if you're watching the North London derby and Harry Kane pulls up with his hamstring, or he goes down and gets off on a stretcher, yes, the first thought is always, we're devastated, this is awful. But actually, the first thought from a betting perspective, people will have, because the market will still be live, I imagine, is golden boot.
Absolutely.
So you then need to go, right, if Messi's injured, who's potentially coming in and starting for Argentina? Because there'll be a huge price for that first 10, 20 minutes till someone realises. It's possibly a bit snidey, but I do also think it's the one market golden boot. I remember I did it one year. It's massive after time. Wesley Sneijder was co-winner, wasn't he? He was a 3-figure price. He was a midfielder that scored goals, and like you don't need over the course of a season. The strikers are always going to have that advantage. I think the midfielders are where the value can lie in the golden boot market if you find one that can pop up and score goals. And I don't think there's going to be as many tin pot games where teams are going to fill their boots. I think it'll be closer than we think.
I agree with you on that.
Stephen, I don't know any like specific team who I think will win, to be honest. I'm trying to just look now at the bigger odds teams just to see if there's anything that takes the fancy. Poland at 250-1. If Lewandowski's in massive form, could you have them at an each way price?
I'm not defensively though.
I must say, I'm probably really reaching that this third place thing will be a thing, but we have got a third place playoff, and I haven't remembered a bookmaker ever do it. But given the places they tend to go to on stuff now, I would be shocked if someone doesn't think there's a bit of an angle there. I mean, it might mean the win part's useless to you because they'll obviously shorten everything up, but if you could get a Uruguay maybe or that sort of team, that, teams that could make a late run. Do you remember South Korea when they hosted it? And they would have been a huge price. They obviously had a little bit of help from the refs, allegedly.
Again, we mentioned in recent weeks, I think, Boz, you mentioned, weren't there a market which was like a team to win who've not won
never won it before. You've got winners. I think it was Sam, actually. It was winners, previous winners or a new winner. That's buying money, I'd say, but what do I know? Right. Weekend treble then, I guess, lads.
Weekend treble.
Who let us down last week? Because my Miami, I was too conservative.
I was too patriotic last week. I wanted England to beat Germany. I wanted it to happen. It didn't happen. And I regret it massively. I'm stupid.
So that's Jake's apology.
This week we change it all around, and I'm going to have the only winner this week, and you two are going to have losers. And all three of us will have a winning treble this week, hopefully. I'll go with mine quickly. Bournemouth v Brentford over 2.5 goals. This game has got goals written all over it for me. Since Gary O'Neill took over at Bournemouth, they've been scoring goals, they've been shipping goals. Brentford are a team, again, the same, score goals, shipping goals. I was going to back Ivan Toney just to score as my bet for the weekend treble because I think going away with England will help him massively. He's a confidence player and the confidence will be soaring that he's just had an international break and played with and trained with, some big players. So over 2.5 goals is my pick for the weekend treble in Bournemouth-Brentford. Farley, do you want to go next with your pick for the week?
Yeah, we're sticking to the over-unders here, but I'm going to go under Gillingham versus Sutton down in League Two.
That's the stinkiest bet I've ever heard. Unders in Gillingham versus
Sutton. 4 Gillingham
Sutton.
Fans have been watching absolute garbage football for weeks, and now you're going to make sure that they get a 0-0.
Gillingham are a disgrace. They've scored 2 goals all season. They are awful. They've had 5 games at home. Every single one of them has been under 2.5. And 2 of them have been scoreless. They basically, they're near the bottom of the table and they go out to not lose. They'll put 11 men behind the ball, try and skank a 1-0 win or something. Inevitably they'll get beat, but it'll be low scoring. I think at 8-13, and I don't really like tipping stuff that short, but I think it's an absolute lock. I really do.
Well, at least one of us is going to pump up this treble with something even
with an even shout.
And I'm going for an even. My Kane score or assist, I don't think that price will be there. So if you're watching this on Friday, I'd take it now because you know he'll start, and if he doesn't, you get your money back. And he'd only not start if he got injured. So yeah, I just why try and be clever about it? Like he's a really good player that will play the ball through to dangerous players to score. And I might even for that game as well. I know we've touched on it. Might even look at the old classic of return the favour, Kane and Son. Because if there's a heads gone moment in that game and Arsenal Xhaka gets his red, he's due a red, isn't he? I don't think he's been sent off for a while. Or something weird happens. I don't know. Son looks so deadly. We'll see. But there you go. We'll go for Kane, score evens. It's not going to pay a huge amount of treble this week, but we'll be coming in at about, 9-2?
Just over 5-1, actually, Boz.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
So let's wrap that up. Bournemouth versus Brentford over 2.5. Kane to score or assist. And Gillingham versus Sutton under 2.5 at just over 5-1, which is,
boom.
Yeah, can't argue with that, can we? Look, guys, it is always a pleasure. If we want to send in us questions, we didn't even say that properly, did I? If you would like to send us a question, we will do our best to answer it. We always do. At the odds pod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, all of those. Follow us on YouTube, and please, for the love of God, like, subscribe, comment, whatever, anything you can do that helps the algorithm. It only takes you a split second of your time, and it does us the absolute world of good. So we'd really, really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you for watching, and we'll see you all next week.
See you later.